win's a win, and we're excited about that, and we certainly got to address some things. We it was kind of a hectic day or two, to say the least. We get back, stayed in El Paso that night, and we immediately as a staff went in, started grading the tape and doing our critiques. And, we got things that we've got to get correct and do a better job with. Penalties. We're sitting there at eight penalties for 79 yards, and can't have it. We've certainly addressed those things. We continue to address them. I've met with the team today. Our seniors are going to decide punishment and how we're going to sit there and handle that with those guys. On top of some of the things we already do, we've got to certainly do a better job of scoring touchdowns rather than kicking field goals. Koo's done a great job for us this year. We're very blessed to be able to have a guy like him that could be sitting here setting a school record and be at 100% on the season. But at the end of the day, we've got opportunities early in that game to end the game in early. And we've got to continue to do a better job with our rushing defense. For 3 weeks in a row, we really haven't set or fulfilled the standard that we'd like to fulfill. And those are certainly things that we've addressed and critiqued with our players already. And I know we just played 2 days ago, but it feels like that was 4 weeks ago for us. And certainly moving ahead and getting excited about what we've got to do a better job versus App State.
The red zone, lack of scoring touchdowns, and I guess there was an interception, and then there was a couple of field goals that you had to settle for. Can you put your finger on what's happened there? Is that something that you get involved with and say, here's what we've got to do?
Yeah, sure. And again, it's more of, we went back and have tried to critique. Obviously, we didn't play real well in the red zone versus Arkansas State either. Came back and did a better job versus Georgia Tech last week of making sure that we punched touchdowns in rather than field goals, and came back this week. But, sometimes it becomes a little bit more difficult as the field, gets tighter and shorter on you. And certainly we get a ton of pressure once we're down there that creates a little bit of havoc, but we've got to do a good job being able to block those things out and making sure that we're getting those reps the way we need to during the week and executing the way that we need to on the future. So some of it comes down to a little bit of different things from a from a scheme standpoint. Some of it comes from a personnel standpoint. So we've got to be able to do some of those things to help us as we move forward.
When you talk about that execution down there, looking at App State, a higher rated defense than some of the teams you've played recently,
Sure.
Especially in the red zone, is it a matter of urgency, or is it something that you try not to be too urgent about and just hope that everything
No, it's like anything else. It's something that we've got to address, and it's something that we've got to get better at, and we've got to continue to be able to do those things. And that comes on to, all of us really, between our coaching staff and between our players, making sure that we have the right plan in place and then being able to execute it the way that we need to. Again, like you said, I think fairly certain App State is number one in our league in red zone defense and not allowing touchdowns, and we've got to do a better job of making sure that we're getting them. So it is a key component for us this week, no question.
Coach, you knew when you took the job the passion that Georgia Southern fans have. To be 3-1 and still hear, I know you've got to hear that people are frustrated, people are upset. Is that frustrating for you, or how do you take that?
Well, I think the big thing is, I'm trying to do the best job I can do, and I'm trying to be the best person I can be, and the best coach, and the best daddy, and the best husband, and all those things kind of at once. I love Georgia Southern. I love being in Statesboro, and it's not something for me. I'm in a position where I'm going to be critiqued no matter what we do, and that's okay. And not everybody's going to agree with everything that you make decisions on. Am I happy where we're at? No. I wish our record was better than it is. I wish it was 6-0. I wish it was 5-1. But we're not. We're 4-3 right now. We're 3-1 in the conference. We got a chance to do something great, and that starts with us this Thursday. I think the hard part is really kind of sometimes just the toll it takes on your family more than anything else. They're not a coach, and it's easier when somebody's talking about you than it is the person that you care about. And so, anyway, it's a little bit harder in the fishbowl too. You
have to tell your wife to stay away from social media.
We've just talked about in general, and that's not isolated to here. Certainly, it's like I said, you want to be somewhere that's passionate. You want to be somewhere where somebody cares, and you want to be somewhere where somebody's mad at you whenever things don't go the way you want it to. Success is a hard thing to achieve, and Georgia Southern's done a great job of doing that for a long, long time here. And success is something that we've got to continue to work towards so we can do a better job of it.
you did have some success last week, breaking the losing streak, getting that win. Now a short week. It's good to finally be home, but it is a short week going up against a rival. Is it maybe a good thing that you just try to take that momentum and carry it right back into another game?
Sure, and again, it's been hectic. Certainly going all the way out there and being in New Mexico on a late Saturday night game, and we've tried to do a good job. I mean, like I said, almost immediately we put New Mexico away, and our staff, turned our full attention to App State, and I was worried about them coming back or us arriving here at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's gotten any sleep for the week on a short week, so we stayed the night there, let the guys get 7 or 8 hours of sleep, and then we were sitting there rolling on Sunday morning. They came down for breakfast. We already had their notebooks. We'd already done their scouting reports, and coaches were sitting down meeting with them at breakfast and getting a head start on it. And we wound up getting back here, if I remember correctly, around 4:15 on Sunday. We gave them about 15 minutes to get their locker cleaned up, and we went right straight to meetings and a walkthrough. And I think it's going to give us a better chance than having being dragging and not have any consecutive sleep, and it gives us a better chance to be successful in the classroom this week as well. So,
Coach, the quarterback situation, you brought in Seth.
Yes, sir.
And that's it for the redshirt year for him. Was that plan before you guys went there, or was that something that happened in the spur of the moment? Or what?
I think as everybody knows, I mean, both of our quarterbacks are having good years. They really are, but they're both battling. They've been dinged up really since Savannah State. And about the time we get, one ding to heal up, another one pops up. And that's kind of, where we've been at. And we certainly wanted to be smart about what we were doing with Fabian. And we were trying to make sure that we got prepared the way that we needed to win games. Schumann is certainly somebody that we feel very comfortable with as far as him having poise. Obviously, being a high school coach's son helps a lot of those things, and be able to come in and give Kevin's a couple spells through the game. He came up, I know his efficiency thing isn't exactly the way you'd like for it to be after the first game, but he came in and made some big throws. A third down where he winds up late in the game, being able to hit Keegan across, on a big third down for us on 3rd and long. And so those are things to be able to see, and it's fun to be able to look into the future and see those things. But a lot of it came down to just needing to make a decision. We've been sitting here kind of waiting until Wednesdays at some point in time on guys and when they were going to be ready to go. And that gets frustrating to everybody, and we need to be able to make sure that our offense is able to function through Monday and Tuesday the way they needed to, and we felt like the way to do that was to get Seth going.
If Kevin is healthy, will he play the whole App State game, or will you spell him throughout the game?
If Kevin's healthy, we're more than happy. But we'll continue to play Seth as long as we can. And again, we sit there in a position. I hope we got an opportunity to play all 3 of them as this week turns up.
He was with Coach Gillespie,
sure.
So obviously he's going to come in knowing a lot more than.
There's going to be the coaching points are, but. I think that gets misconstrued sometimes. There are similarities in some of the verbiage, but most of the verbiage is really more mine, to be honest with you, and things, because it's hard enough between the defense and the special teams to turn around and learn every word on offense. So I made everybody get on the same page from the get-go. But yeah, I think he's comfortable in it, certainly, and obviously having been in that system for 4 years, like I said, and having been his father, having been a coach and growing up there and being around Coach Gillespie for 5 or 6 years, and them and their relationship through it. But I don't know that if you're asking me if it's going to be more passing, that's not necessarily what we're doing. It gives us a chance to be able to throw it with somebody that's healthy that can, and it's certainly somebody that's very capable and is a good passer.
Does it change the playbook with him in as opposed to Kevin now?
No, not necessarily. At the end of the day, we've got to make sure with Seth that we're putting him in positions where he's doing all the same things as Kevin is. Obviously, Kevin is dynamic doing both things. He is one of the higher, pass efficiency guys really in our conference right now, and I don't think he's really kind of getting enough credit for that. But he's a dynamic runner. He's a dynamic runner, and so when we sit there and go through it, I don't know that that's where Seth is right now. I certainly think he's a good athlete for us. I think he proved that in camp whenever we wound up having our scrimmages out here, and he's a pro baseball draft pick as a pitcher. He's a guy that can certainly move and do a lot of different things for us.
Yeah, just on a couple times I've seen him, he kind of reminds me of Lamb App State a little bit.
You know, I've heard that comparison a lot of different times with him and Taylor is very similar, you know, and Coach Lamb and a lot of those guys that I've been around, and Coach Gillespie, that's a very familiar tree.
Going into this game, you talked all year about getting off to better starts, and obviously last year App State got off to a very fast start against Georgia Southern. You know, how big of a priority is that for you guys to get off to a good start?
Well, it is, and you know, that's kind of the unfortunate thing about last week. I mean, if you sit there and did it based on yards, and you did it based on rhythm, and you did it based on getting first downs, then golly, you'd felt like we'd come out to a great start. But you know, 3 good drives end up in 6 points, and so if you let people kind of sit there and hang around, which is what we did, and you know, again, very eerily unfamiliar familiar to Arkansas State, you know, and how that felt early on, where the first 3-4 drives you felt like you had done everything right and were massively outplaying them, but you didn't have it on the scoreboard, the only place it really counts. So we've adjusted a couple things for practice this week, one with it being a shorter week, 2 we're trying to make sure that we're getting the physicalness that we need to while still being able to get them in and out of practice and healthy, and trying to get their legs back as quick as we can, but it's changed how we start.
Coach, 2 years ago, Satterfield's first year at App, it's eerily similar to what's going on here. Midway or 7 games, 6 games, 7 games in the season, people were up in arms and we might have hired the wrong guy and all that. They hit it, flipped a switch, won the rest of their games. It starts off at home here against a team like App where you could turn everybody around by putting up a big output and knocking off a rival.
Sure, and this is App is big. I mean, App's. Again, everybody that is associated with App State or Georgia Southern understands what this game means. And whether you were in conference play or not in conference play, it is a big game. It's important to our players. It's important to our fan base. And it's certainly a big deal to me as well. As you sit there and look at it, you know, with Coach Satterfield, he's done a great job and has a tremendous staff. And, you know, they really do a great job. They play hard. They play with their hands well and get off blocks. They run the ball well. And they do all the little things well, you know. And I think that, like you said, it's very important for us to be able to, if we're going to be where we want to be at the end of the year, we've got to go down this road and we've got to try to find a way to get our win.
Nice to be home. I know these guys probably almost forget what it's like to play out here as long as you've been gone.
Well, I had a family member call me the other day, and he was asking me a question about it. I said, well, it's been 5 weeks. We've had a hurricane. We've been to Michigan. We've been to New Mexico, and you know, in all kind of circles. So it's nice, you know, just to be back. Obviously, trying to get back on a different kind of rhythm now, where you're not jumping into a plane or having to leave early or get back late or late in the morning, whatever it winds up being. And you know, but the big thing is just getting back. Last time we played here, we had the largest crowd ever, and we're hoping to make sure that we've got a big crowd coming for this game on Thursday nights. National TV game with ESPN certainly helps our brand and our exposure for our entire university, not just football. And it's a big deal for a lot of reasons.